Well guys, it finally happened. Fortnite Ballistic is officially shutting down. As much as this comes as a shock and a surprise to all, for many others it's not. So to recap for those who are unaware, at 9:30 a.m. EST yesterday on the 24th, Epic Games tweeted out that officially along with Ballistic, Rocket Racing, and Festival Ranked, they would be removed effective these dates immediately. So April 16th will be the last ever day as of right now that you will ever be able to play it. No event either, no real send-off or goodbye, but just gone. And just under a week ago, Fortnite Ballistic had just reset their leaderboards with rumors about updates, so what went wrong in a week? My biggest question is, were the devs working on Ballistic even aware this was coming? Because outside of all of this horrible news, even more had followed with finding out that over 1,000 Epic Game employees were suddenly let go yesterday as well. And not just regular employees, but people who had made real and serious impacts on the game, such as the person who created Jonesy, and other iconic characters like Ramirez, Penny, and Kyle. In Epic's message about the removal of these game modes, they start off by saying, "We've built a lot of Fortnite modes, and in some cases we failed to build something awesome enough to attract and retain a large player base. We are going to shut down these modes on the schedules outlined below. We're grateful for everyone who played." And I'm gonna keep it a stack. This is not really the best opening to a message like this they could have gone with. First off, I want to remind Epic that Ballistic upon release in December 2024 was their second biggest game mode outside of Battle Royale with over 100k players on the first few days of its launch. And in no way, shape, or form was this a failed launch, especially when you had creators just as, or almost as big as Ninja saying this could be a serious rival to FPS games. Even after the first initial hype of the game died down, it still had a very passionate and large community that I will get to further in the video. When Ballistic was released, there was no roadmap, no explanation to anything whatsoever like how to even play the game for one, no player support. If you did not play any FPS game prior to Ballistic like Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, or Valorant, you had no idea what you were absolutely doing or playing, and there was nothing that was going to tell you or teach you. So already you were kind of setting up a large fraction of individuals to turn away from the game. And a game could look as attractive as possible on the surface, but if you don't know how to play it or also are going against unfair games, then it's super easy to say, hey, I don't ever want to play this again. Because Epic also never had a real proper ranking system for Ballistic, and most of the time many new players would go against high level ranks, which became demotivating fast. It didn't also help at all when after April 2025, updates started to severely slow down and the unranked mode was removed from the game, with promises to return by the way. And by summer, it felt like the game mode was starved from any clear roadmap or updates. The game was filled with bugs that continue to be issues in the game today, and it was clear that behind the scenes, development was starting to struggle, and the development team went through numerous changes and shifts. Despite this consistent downhill spiral it appeared that the game mode was in, the community was still going strong and continued to build the game when Epic didn't. From the very first week of its launch, the community was quick to band together, creating numerous discords, tournament discords, and 10-mans. Outside of all the jokes that people may make, at one point in time there was a real passion and hope to see the game succeed. I want to strongly bring this up as well because of the mention of tournaments and prize pools. But outside of one major tournament at the launch of the game mode, all the prize pool funding has come from multiple individuals in this community, some who have even put down thousands and thousands of dollars in hopes to eventually see proper esports integration come into the game mode. There was even at one point a tournament option for Ballistic that was added on Fortnite, which to this day people still don't know if it was an accident or not. Basically, people have put blood, sweat, and tears into trying to build something in this community, not only for the community itself, but also in hopes to try to grow the game mode or to get the attention of the developers of the game. However, I think the community's biggest problem right now is the lack of structure and professionalism, because when something is eventually just 100% community run, things are going to get improper fast. The problem with most of these Discord tournaments is that there was never any proper, universal rule sets put in place, no real formats, and no everlasting consistency across these tournaments. Nowadays, every Discord does their own things differently. While one tournament could feel competitive, the other could feel like a joke, and that inconsistency and oversaturation kills credibility of the scene. After the summer, we started having tournaments every day with multiple almost in the same day. Prize pools became smaller than they used to be because of the multiple hosts, and while in reality that sounds like it could be a good thing because more opportunities, right? It really diluted everything. Wins didn't feel meaningful anymore, grand finals didn't feel worth watching, and no single event felt big. It felt like the community just eventually split down the middle, where instead of building the scene, people's focus became more on power and who gets control over what Discord and what tournament. It felt like in some places that toxic behavior became so normalized that there were very few places for new players to come, learn, and feel comfortable in these environments. And when people don't feel comfortable or get turned down, they leave. I think what should have happened, especially in terms of tournaments, is that we should have had 1 or 2 major tournaments a month with amateur and pro level leagues, whether it's a 5v5 or 10-man with prize pools, instead of the structure we have now. If we adapted to a form of a system where we did long-term leagues or qualifiers, I think most teams wouldn't have broken up after a tournament or a week. And with that being said, I want to bring up and shout out Team Z in this video because they were so good they had to actually be singled out from most of the community tournaments, which in reality isn't really fair to them. I also want to say that while Team Z is a fantastic team, don't get me wrong, there was never any other team that put the effort into being a contender or a rival to them. At the end of the day though, the community has done all that we could to support the game while receiving no updates, especially more than Epic ever has, and that, it was not us who brought the end of Ballistic, but more than Epic itself. And since August 2025, Ballistic has not had a single update. Epic has failed to follow through with most promises since then and has had very little to no communication to the community about the game mode. Every single response, whether it was in the last month or few months, was given with false promises about a soon-to-come update. Even then, Ballistic has still managed to stay with a player base consistently of 5,000 to 6,000. There are still consistent tournaments, people within the community who are trying to make a change, and people who are new and sticking around to the game mode. So to say it was a lack of players and attracting them to the game when you guys had absolutely nothing to support it itself after the first few months is so beyond disrespectful and distasteful. Because the potential this game mode had and still has is endless. And with just a little bit of momentum and development, it has everything needed to attract larger audiences and to be a contender against other FPS games. This game mode could easily be Fortnite's version of Counter-Strike or Valorant, a genuine real esports ecosystem, and could also bring in a lot of money to the company if it was done right. But here's the thing, it's not over yet, and this doesn't have to be the end. Yes, April 16th is the last day, but very rarely we've seen opportunities where games get pulled and eventually come back. Right now, people are being loud more than ever about the removal of Ballistic and other game modes, and there is some serious community pushback in regards to this. We're even seeing creators like Typical Gamer who have already reached out to Tim Sweeney asking if he could even acquire the game mode somehow for it to stay in development. So for the first time in a very long time, we're seeing all sorts of people call attention to what's happening, and it's people who actually care about the game. So right now, this is the window and the only chance to show Epic that this mode is worth saving. So be vocal, post about it, and play the game. Support creators pushing for it because silence is what brought it to this point in the first place. Wrapping up, I'm not done with Ballistic and you shouldn't be either. Be hopeful and speak up and make the most of these last few weeks to make a change.